First of all, I want to thank you, Professor, for joining the call and giving us some of your time. In this call, we have Professor Bruce Schneier. He's a public interest technologist and a fellow and lecturer at Harvard Kennedy School and a board member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is the leading nonprofit organization defending civil liberties in the digital world. And he's the author of great books like Rewiring Democracy, How AI Will Transform Our Politics, Government, and Citizenship. So, Professor, my first question for you is, what do you mean by a public interest technologist?
So this is not my term. This is a term of art. And this is someone who combines tech and policy. My background is technical. I have a computer science degree, but I teach at a public policy school. I teach at the Harvard Kennedy School. I am teaching people who didn't take math in college, right? Because so much of our policy is tech driven. And it's not just AI policy, it's energy policy, it's defense policy, it's medical policy. All of these things have a strong technical component. And we need people in government who can straddle both, either technologists who are doing policy, policymakers doing technology, right? Because it's all combined. The internet is everything. Computers are everything. So that's what we mean by that term. And there are a lot of us out there, and we work in government, at NGOs, in corporations, doing tech and policy together, either the policy of tech or the tech of policy.
Your generation is one of the most interesting generations because you grew up without computers or internet. From the perspective of a public interest technologist who seen this technological advancement, what was your thoughts? What was the public sentiment? And how was the government reaction to it?
In general, I think of technology in terms of who it empowers. Right? Does it make the already powerful more powerful, or does it empower the less powerful? And the history of computerization is really the quick versus the strong. If you think about the internet, when the internet becomes a force in politics, it's the color revolutions in the Middle East. It is political change in Eastern Europe. It is the dissidents. It is the unsophisticated. It is the marginalized who are using this technology to organize, to communicate, to do things they never could do before. Right? It empowers the masses. The already powerful, the companies, the governments, are much slower to adopt these technologies. But when they do, they have raw power, more raw power to magnify. So now we see these technologies used for surveillance, for control, for censorship, in ways that the marginalized have a lot of trouble pushing back on. Right? So the quick are faster to use the technology, the strong use it more effectively. And I think we're seeing the same thing with AI, played out a little bit differently because you have from the beginning the tech monopolies controlling the technology, which you didn't have for computers or the internet. It was much more distributed.
I've read an article that you've written where you talk about an election that happened in Japan, where AI was used by a candidate who portrayed himself to be representing the youth. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. It's a great story. So this is a story of a young man named Takahiro Ano. And last year, or maybe the year before, he's running for governor of Tokyo. He's a programmer. He's not a politician. And what he does, something no one's ever done before, is he has a 2-week live stream on YouTube where an AI avatar answers questions. An authorized deepfake answers questions. He comes in 5th out of like 30 candidates. It's kind of crazy, right? So he's the first one to leverage AI as a legitimate campaign tool. This would be, kind of a cute story, except a few months ago, I think actually late last year, he wins a seat in Japan's upper house, in their I don't know what it's called, their diet, in their upper house, on this sort of pro-technology platform. He's not like left or right. He's future instead of past, is the way he describes it. His party is a new political party. It's called Team Mirai, Team Future. And he's building tech tools for democracy. So in Japan, when you're a political party, you get so many seats in the House, you get money from the government. And he's not doing that for campaigning or party building. He's doing it, using that money to build tech tools that he's making available to everybody in government, no matter what the party is. In the most recent election a couple months ago, his party won a few more seats. So he's got like a dozen seats, which is not a lot, but it's not insignificant. And he is very much building AI tools for listening to constituents, to voters, for crowdsourcing party platform and legislation, for trying to build a responsible mechanism for government using AI. It's a fantastic story to me because we hear all about how AI is terrible for everything. And it turns out in the hands of someone who wants more democracy and better democracy and more responsive democracy, AI can do that.
The funny thing, if I try to run similar campaign as his campaign here in America, I'll probably lose in a landslide because of the sentiment that we have, especially among the youth toward AI.
It is interesting. I very much when I talk about this, I tell people don't conflate AI as a technology with the for-profit companies that are controlling the technology. A lot of people's, I think, very real fears and reservations about AI are really fears and reservations about the AI companies.
Mhm.
It's not the tech, it's the humans controlling the tech. And AI, as we said, is a power enhancing technology. Do you want that power to go to Google and Meta and Elon Musk and Anthropic and OpenAI? Or do you want that power to go to democracy, to the people? Right? That's the question. It's not the tech, it's who's wielding it, why, and how.
So shifting back to American politics, what do you think politicians in DC are missing about AI?
So I think that, confusing the tech with the politics. I think we're not taking seriously enough the job loss and revenue loss. Now, recently we've seen some changes. Right? I mean, Bernie Sanders, just like last week, proposed that the US government take a stake in these AI companies. Elizabeth Warren, I think, is a better proposal, proposed basically a token tax, an energy excise tax on these AI companies. I like Warren's proposal better. I think in Sanders' proposal, we become complicit in these companies, and I don't want government to be in the role of investor or capitalist. I want government to be government.
Mhm.
But the idea of an excise tax, that how do we as society capture some of the profits generated on the fruits of all of our labor? That seems like a good idea. So I think these ideas need to be taken more seriously. How to do this? Certainly in the U.S., we're not thinking about regulation at all. I mean, even and you see the administration, right? Trump had an idea that a few weeks ago that all new models have to go through the government for approval. Right? Someone whispers in his ear, and 2 days ago we got the actual order, which was pretty please. It would be nice if the companies would show it to the government, but no requirement. Don't worry about it. We need actual serious regulation. Here, the EU is better than the US. I mean, I think we can complain about some of the details, but they're trying in a way the US is not. And the last thing that I think really needs to be taken seriously and is not is how fast this is all changing. If you knew how AI worked 4 months ago, it doesn't work like that anymore. If you know how it works today, it's not going to work like that in 4 months. The technology is changing faster than I think anybody who is not deeply steeped in it realizes.
How can government intervene and enforce regulations on AI while at the same time doesn't make the government too powerful, especially when it comes to surveillance and data collection?
Actually, I'm less worried about the government being powerful. I think the companies are too powerful. And
Mhm.
right now, I mean, especially in the US, right? Income inequality, money in politics, all the reason democracy doesn't work. I mean, the problem is that money drives politics. The problem is these companies are too big. Single biggest thing is breaking up the tech monopolies. I mean, none of this is going to happen, so we can just talk about it. But break up the tech monopolies would do wonders for competition, for price, for innovation, for all the things that we claim we want. That would be the first thing.
It's funny you mention it because the thesis of my campaign is that money in politics is the root of all issues that we are facing in today's society.
And I think you're right. And income inequality is the root of that.
The root of money in politics.
Right. I mean, money in politics, I think, has its own problems. I mean, the fact that, Citizens United kind of enshrined the notion that, money can buy politics. But it really is the income inequality that, these mega billionaires can buy politicians with pocket change. There's a writer, Hamilton Nolan, I like reading. He writes a lot about labor. And he wrote an essay a few months ago that basically said, look, anything you can buy with $1 billion, you shouldn't have. Right? Nothing costs $1 billion that you should have. That's like an election. Right? Nothing normal costs $1 billion. Only scary things cost $1 billion. And we have people on our planet, in our country, from $1 billion is okay, I can spend that.
I'm assuming the biggest fear you have right now is not necessarily the influence of AI, is the influence of money in politics that give too much power to corporations who have control of AI.
That's right. I mean, remember, AI is not scary. AI doesn't do anything. It's the humans controlling the AI that do things. So yes, I really do fear uh, the people, the humans.
I think one of the recent articles that you've written is about Anthropic creating a tool to find issues in software, and then they decided not to make that tool available for the public. Why do you think it's important to pay attention to it?
So first, I want to say that it's not Anthropic. This was a fantastic PR move for the company because everyone now says Anthropic is the best. They are one of the models. But the basic story is that the good models, and there are many of them. Some are open source. Some come from Europe. Some you can run on your computer. some are Anthropic, some are OpenAI, some are others, are very good at finding vulnerabilities in software. This has benefits for attackers and defenders. Right? Attackers can find vulnerabilities and break into systems. Defenders can find vulnerabilities and patch them, thereby securing systems. And now we are sort of living through all of that turmoil. It turns out these frontier models, the Claude Mythos was the OpenAI model, but also the GPT model, are very, very expensive to run. They're extremely energy inefficient. And I think that's the real reason that Anthropic didn't release their model to the public. They made a virtue out of necessity. But we're going to be living in a world where finding these vulnerabilities is cheap. And that's going to be interesting to watch. Right? It'll cause a lot of security because companies will use these models to find vulnerabilities and patch their systems. I mean, last month, Firefox, the browser, patched, I think, 271 vulnerabilities found by AI. Use Firefox, it is way more secure than it was 2 months ago. That's AI. It does good and bad. You always have to look at both.
Imagine a world where we were able to eliminate the influence of money in politics. And now AI is a tool that used for the people and by the people. How would that world look like?
So it's interesting. In our book on AI democracy, we talk a lot about something called public AI, the notion of an AI model that is not controlled by a for-profit corporation, either by a government or an NGO or a university or some consortium, like an AI model that was built not in the profit motive. And that this would be a really valuable, not replacement for corporate AI, but addition into the milieu. We write about this in our book. It was aspirational, but in October, it actually happened. Switzerland released a public AI model called Apertus. It was built by a consortium of universities, funding from the government. It uses no illegally copyrighted material. It uses no poorly paid global south labor. It was entirely made using renewable hydropower, so it's clean AI. They use an existing data center, so no new rare earth minerals were mined to make this AI. It might be the first fully ethical AI on the planet. Now, it's not as good as the frontier because they weren't aiming for the frontier. That's what the capitalists do. They wanted to build a useful model at a price point and performance point that would work for everybody, and they did that. They're going to come out with a new model, I think, later this month. Right, here's an example of how we could build AI in a different way. Right? And so I want to see that. I want to see real regulation on what these models can do, transparency requirements, disclosure requirements. I want some kind of universal access. I want the companies that are making enormous amounts of money destroying jobs to somehow figure out how to give back. That's some of the token tax that we've been talking about. There's a bunch of things we can do if we choose to. I mean, right now we're designing these AI systems for the near-term financial benefit of a bunch of white male tech billionaires, which is like a dumb way to organize society. We could do better. It's unlikely we will anytime soon, but it's certainly possible.
What piece of advice you would give to the youth who are watching this interview?
To really think about this. I mean, we're living in a very, very tumultuous time, and I get it. I mean, I'm teaching here, and I have students who see their career path disappear. And what do we do now? And we need to figure this out. Right? We need to, as a group, move politics, democracy into the 21st century. I mean, right now, it is stuck in kind of the mid-1800s. That's how these systems were built. They were built when travel and communications were hard. They were built for an era of industrialization. They're not working in the information age. And we need to fix that. So I want people to get involved. It matters. Though the worst thing I see is for young people to say today, oh, elections don't matter. Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. I get it. Democrats suck. Republicans suck more. You might want to edit that out.
No, keep it. Let's say we were able to eliminate money in politics. Give me 3 top regulations should be implemented immediately afterward.
Biggest thing is antitrust. The biggest thing, the single most effective thing we can do is break up the tech monopolies. 100%. Nothing would do more and do better than to break up the tech monopolies. So that is the first thing. After that, I want broad regulation protecting employment. I mean, too much of tech is not really tech, but is figuring out how to get around employee protection laws. Like basically, Uber is an entire scam to get around worker protection laws. And a lot of this gig economy is. I think we need to fix that in general. So labor law writ large. And then after that, I think data protections. Surveillance being a business model is kind of crazy. Like spying on people and then manipulating them as a business model. Why do we allow that? That's Google, right? That's everybody who, this whole advertising ecosystem.
Could you talk more about surveillance? I think you were at the time when Snowden first exposed the government for surveillance. How scary is surveillance?
So surveillance is not new, right? This device has been spying on you since you put it in your pocket. Facebook, Google have been spying on you since they came into existence. And that kind of broad surveillance, you're right, was around in the Snowden's time. This is 2014. It's over a decade ago. And there, the government and corporations could take these big databases and figure out where you go, what you buy, who you talk to. All this is the metadata, right, of all of these things. What's different is with AI is AI can listen to the actual conversations, right? So surveillance will say that you and I are having a Zoom right now, right? And the date, the time, who's on the call, that's all surveillance. The spying is what we're talking about. And before AI, a human had to eavesdrop on this conversation to know what we're talking about. Now an AI can.
I've read one of your articles where you said how the language that AI uses is a language from textbook and from the text, and that might influence the way we speak. If this is like one implication of using AI in our life and its implication on our society.
No, it's not just AI, it's autocomplete in general, which is older than AI. And the notion that our language is affected by what we read and what's suggested to us. So if I'm typing an email and the email provider, let's say Google, pops up suggestions of what I could say, it's easy to just to click OK. And that changes my language. And you receiving my email see this new language, which isn't really me, it was the computer, and that changes your language. So we are now being affected by what the computer is saying. AI supercharges that. AI can write the entire email, and I just click OK, or maybe I change a few words. Right? So now it is really the AI speaking and AI talk that is becoming dominant. And I think we see this. You go on Reddit, you look at comments on Substack, a lot of them written by AI.
Written by AI. I think one thing that also been written by AI is student assignment and articles in schools. So as a
Totally true.
professor,
I teach here, and I guarantee you that most of the stuff I read is written by AI. I don't know what to do about that. I think we all have to education need to figure it out. I tell my students that having an AI write your assignment is like having a robot lift weights for you at the gym. Like, why are you bothering? The whole point of lifting weights is not to move the heavy things from here to there. It's the act of lifting makes your muscles stronger. The reason I assign my students a policy memo to write is not because we need more policy memos. It's because the act of writing a policy memo makes you smarter.
Mhm.
If you're going to outsource that to an AI, like, why are you coming to grad school? But I get it. I think the problem is, goes back. If the goal of writing an assignment is to get a good grade, and the goal of getting a good grade in that assignment is to get a good grade in the class, and the goal of that is to get a good GPA, to get a good job, to pay off the student loans you had to take out to go to school in the first place, then cheating is a perfectly reasonable strategy. And so I actually blame the system that forces students to take out obscene loans to go to school.
But do you imagine a future where AI could be used to help us represent the society even more, to help us have a fair elections?
100%. We talk about a lot of that in our book, and it's certainly possible. Again, AI is a tool for the humans who wield it. If the humans want more democracy, AI will help that. If the humans want less democracy, AI will help that too.
What message would you send for Congress representative right now who are not talking about AI much because they're afraid that saying anything about it might kick them out from office because, the meta packs and so on and so forth?
It's hard. We need to push back on that, but I get it, right? Money in politics is the problem. The influence of these corporations is a problem. That is a core problem. I want to solve that. And maybe we have to solve that before we can have any AI regulation.
In one of your articles, you wrote about who can harness AI for campaigns, and you talked about Obama and how he was, the first presidential candidate to use social media in his advantage. So when we talk about AI and campaigning, how do you imagine that?
So I think about that Japanese story, right? I think of Anasan and him using an AI avatar. Right now, there's a shorter number of AI tools for campaigning. There are AI tools for connecting candidates with donors. There are AI tools to help candidates run for office, collect signatures, produce a web page, position papers. And here, don't think senator, don't think president, think city council, think school board, think people with no money, no expertise, no time. But AI tools will enable more people to run for office. I think it's phenomenal. for democracy. There are AI tools for get out the vote campaigns, for door knocking, for canvassing, right, to make that more effective and more efficient. So I think AI is going to affect all sorts of areas of politics. Right, we're seeing AI powered media, and not the horrible stuff, not the deep fakes, not the propaganda, but real things. Producing position papers, connecting with voters. Right? Can an AI have a conversation with a voter instead of it's sort of not the same as like you talking to a voter directly as the candidate, but it's better than you handing the person a piece of paper and they read it. It's a conversation with an AI avatar. A lot of this, I think there's going to be some acceptance barriers, but I think that's all changing. I think young people are more likely to accept these things, and I think it's going to change.
Because our district is considered one of the most educated district and has top universities. And so what would you tell them if you have a message to them?
This is a time to stay involved. And I mean, things that are happening are important. I mean, everyone always says this is the most important generation, most important election, most important this. And the reason is because it's the only one you can affect.
Yeah.
Right? The ones in the past are over, the ones in the future aren't here yet. This is the most important election because it's the one that's happening now. And just remember that.
The last question I have for you is where can people read more about your work?
So I'm easy to find. You type Bruce Schneier into Google or whatever your search engine is, and you'll get my website where all my writing is. My essays, my blog posts, you read about my books, it's all there. I'm not on social media because I'm weird, but my website has everything.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor, for joining us for this call. It was really
Thank you.
interesting to hear your own perspective.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.